If I had to do it all over again, what would I do differently? Hi everybody, it's Deb with Deb's RV Services and welcome to today's video. I am a certified RV inspector and I'm a registered technician. I've been doing inspections since 2021 and being in the business, I've gone through a lot of learning curves. So today I'm going to talk to you all about how I might do things differently if I were to do this all over again. The first thing that I want to talk to you about is when you're going to school and you get into the program, how I might handle the classroom experience itself. While in class, you're learning so much information that you're trying to take it all in. And when you go through the inspector course, you first go through fundamentals and then you go through the inspection course and you get these hands-on training where you're performing inspections and you get to perform 2 inspections while you're there, and you have another person that you do the inspection with. In my experience, I had 3 people, and having a group makes it a little bit more difficult because you want to be able to do everything actual hands-on. You want to be able to go in there and touch everything and perform everything. So my tip for you is to not be afraid, number 1, to ask questions. Ask tons of questions and write it all down. Video it if you want to. I'm not saying that the teacher will allow you to video them presenting, but what I'm talking about is when you are performing some of the hands-on tasks, I would video some of that so that you remember, because one of the things that happens is when you leave there and you actually get on the job, you kind of think, what was that? Or did we do it this way? Why did we hook it up like this? There's just so much. And if you haven't worked with a multimeter before, if you haven't had experience working on RVs, if you don't have that technical background, you really want to make sure that you remember, you take pictures, and you also video everything and ask tons of questions. You're going to go through the software. The software is probably the most difficult part of learning how to be an inspector, in my opinion. I was able to get down a lot of the stuff in with the hands-on and what we were to inspect, but there is still so much more to that. You have to learn a software. You have to become kind of a computer expert. So if you aren't used to using a computer, this is a whole other arena for you to learn. So for this bullet point, I want you to remember to ask lots of questions during your class. The second thing that I want to go over is to prepare for the lows. When you get out of school and you are starting your business and you get those calls in, there are times of the year that you get more business than others. If you are just going to be an inspector, expect the lows. There are times that I didn't have anything for a full month, but it was because I was traveling. That is one of the other points that I'll get into later, but there are times of the year that are more that people are purchasing RVs more than others. You're going to have the fall is a big time and the spring is a big time. But during like the Christmas season, it starts to slow way down because people are spending their money on other things. The beginning of January, people they just spend all their money. They're not buying an RV. But once the RV shows start to happen, and people are looking at spring, or they get their income tax return checks, they're going to start spending money again and they're going to look at buying an RV, and so they're going to be looking for inspectors. So if you prepare for the lows and you save a little bit, then you can ride out those times that you aren't earning money. And you also could have a backup plan for earning money. That brings me to another point of possibly doing not just inspections but tech work, and that's something, if you are interested in, could earn you money as well. The next bullet point that I want to talk about is building your website and coming up with your business name prior to going to the school and getting all your training. What I did was I went to the training and then I got out of school and I started scrambling, trying to get a website built, getting a business name built, ordering t-shirts, figuring out my phone plan. But they do teach you a lot of that in the classroom. So it's one of those situations where you're going to be taught on ideas on what you could do. But if you could at least get some of those checked off, the list, then you won't have as much you have to scramble through later. For instance, I had my website built on Wix.com. You could hire somebody, if you don't have the experience, you could hire somebody that could start your website for you. And then when you're done with school, you could add on to it and build. But get those things lined up. You might want to get an accountant lined up, somebody that can help you with the business part. If you're not familiar with business, they do offer a class in business. Would I take it again? I don't know. I debate that if I would have spent the $850 on taking the business class. There are a lot of things that you can learn during the fundamentals course with the business class. Going forward and taking the other the $850 coursework of it, I think I could have found a lot of the information online, and I could have just hired an accountant and probably had somebody help me that way and spent my money there versus taking that extra class. That's just my opinion. Some people took the class and they really loved it. They would do it again. They went and hired the, Mark Kohler, who they recommend for you, but it's extremely expensive, just an FYI, and they're very busy. And there's just different varying opinions about that. I did not hire him. I hired locally. But there's a lot of things that you have to prepare for. You have to order business cards. So coming up with a business name would be really great. And getting your business cards before you go to the school would be really helpful. Search out a business name that's very, that explains what you do and is something that's eye-catching. People come up with names that sometimes you have to be careful not to pick a name that might be, I don't know, for lack of better words, offensive to some people, or just a name that doesn't show that you want to show that you are what you are in your name. Okay. Deb's RV Services. I just named it my name because I thought, why not? I'm an RV service and my name's Deb. So I just picked it. It's very general and basic, but it's just, that's what I do. So make sure that you come up with something that shows what you do. Whatever name you decide, make sure you pick, like, you're an RV service or you're an RV inspector. If you're just going to do inspections, have that in your name, Joe's RV Inspections, whatever. Just have something that gives a specific direction on what you do, and that's very eye-catching, and that you have lettering. My first initial card, my lettering didn't stand out. It was too, like, the background was too muted and it was too white lettering. I changed my business cards to have more of a bold look, red lettering where it stands out, because when people are flipping through cards and they want to find that person to contact, your name is going to stand out if it's nice, big, and bold. You want to get signs for your car. You want it to be nice and big and bold. And you don't want it to have a lot of information on it. If I were to get my magnets all over again, I would have done that. I would have just put, Deb's RV Services, Certified RV Inspector, and my phone number. You don't need all this other stuff. If you are going to do tech work, though, then you have a different situation. You want to somehow put your services on there, that you offer inspections and tech. One of the other things that I did was I added the white lettering to the back of my car. So I have on there Deb's RV Services, Certified Inspector, my phone number. So when people are driving behind me, they can see that. They know exactly what I do. It's easy to read. They can snap a picture. They don't have to take in all this information. You want it to just stand out. So those are my recommendations, is to get some of your marketing materials started early. You might make changes. Maybe don't order as many business cards, because if you decide to make a change later, you can do that. And then you can, once you figure out exactly what you want, then you may place the big order. But get some of those things handled first. That's one of my other tips. My next bullet point is understanding how a business works. So there are things that you learn in the class. Like I said, you go to inspector school and you're going to learn about, hiring an accountant, how businesses work, how you have to get an LLC. But I would suggest starting to look at those things before you go into the class. Understand your state, where you are going to be domiciled, because if you are going, like when I started out, I was in Michigan. I formed my LLC in Michigan. I could have just done sole proprietor and not, I didn't really need to have an LLC, but I did find that an LLC really is beneficial to stand by your name. It does look good. And I also am insured and I'm an LLC, and there's certain things that I do with my business that require me to have that EIN number. So that business number that I have for that from that LLC, in order to get, for instance, I handle with my phone service and everything. I was able to get my Wi-Fi through AT&T, and I was able to get a business account, but they required me to have that business LLC number. So I would just go ahead and get an LLC, get that all taken care of right away so that you can have that part established and set up. They want you to have a business address. So if you're trying to think about, well, I want to primarily work in Michigan, and then I'm going to travel in the winter months, and I'm going to go to somewhere warm like Florida or Arizona. You're going to have two places that you're going to have to work from, and you have to look at their state laws to find out, can you just work in that state and be a business entity like a foreign entity, a sole proprietor, or do you need to have another LLC? I worked in Michigan as an LLC, and then I worked in Arizona, and I just filed my taxes in both states, and my accountant worked with me. But the thing is I realized that I started doing more business in Arizona than I did in Michigan. So I changed my residence to Arizona, and now I'm working on establishing my LLC in Arizona and, moving it from Michigan to Arizona. I can still work in Michigan. I just have to pay the appropriate taxes. But getting with a tax accountant that I would advise that you could, where you could understand the laws of the states that you're going to work in and what you need to form. I would, recommend getting an LLC, and because you're going to, it's going to help you and your business, and then you can work with your accountant on anything else that's particular for that state. The other thing that I want to mention about going back to taxes and fees and everything is one thing that surprised me that I needed to budget for were all of the expenses every year and the fees. I didn't realize how many fees would come at me at once. When I graduated the program, it was in August of 2021, and round between October, November, and December, all my fees were due every year. And it was thousands, because you're paying like an insurance, liability insurance, which cost me $750 a year. Then at HomeGauge, you have a software that you pay every year to keep, and what they teach you is HomeGauge. And I pay with the special every year. There's a discounted rate if you get it during Christmas time. So I usually get it there, and I think it's $450 was the cost per year for that. Then just to be a part of the membership, the associations of the NRVIA, and if you want to do the RVTAA, they're like, I think $399 a year each. And it just really started to add up because I also have a designated phone, and that my phone is a app. So on my regular iPhone, I have an app called iPlum or Plum, whichever it is, I can't remember. And it cost me $100 a year for that. And I think there was even some other, I had to upgrade to something. So it's 100 and something per year. So with all of those fees every year, it is just like overwhelming to you. And it comes in at my slowest time, because at Christmas, around December, is when things start to slow down after the fall. So you need to budget for those kind of things. So I wanted to make sure I added in that tip for you to make sure you budget for the fees. Real quick, while I'm editing this video, I realized one of the things that I haven't told you is that I am not sponsored by the school at all to promote them. I'm just talking to you in general about my own experience. But if you are inclined to go to the school or at all influenced by my YouTube video, you can put me down as a reference on your application. What that would do is possibly give me some credits towards taking my final air conditioner class and getting my certification on the test. Because if you do have a referral, you do get that little bit of a bonus there from the school that gives you credit towards classes. So that is an option for you. You would just put my name, Debbie Bruning, in on your application, and then that would give me a little referral if this video does help you make a decision about going to the school. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the program itself. And some people are trying to decide, should I go through the fundamentals course and the inspector's course all together? Should I take the tech courses? Should I do all of it or should I just do part of it? Here's my suggestion. If I were to do it all over again, I would probably go through everything. I'd do the fundamentals, the inspector course, and the tech program. I would just do all of it all at once and take all my tests and be done with it. But I wanted to learn tech. I wanted to learn it because I feel that it's beneficial to being a better inspector. I do some tech work, but I'm mostly an inspector. It helps me understand how everything works correctly. You can't get enough information when it comes to RVs. You are constantly going to be learning. You're constantly going to be researching. And what I would also suggest is try to get more information on chassis stuff. So when you're going through the inspector course and they start, showing you axles and, the steering components and leaf springs and all those things that as a person prior to this had no idea what a leaf spring was, you want to make sure that you really understand it. So taking your pictures and the videos during that part is going to be helpful. But also, you could maybe do some other training. You could watch YouTube videos from people that are actually knowledgeable about components of chassis and really learn chassis stuff. What are they supposed to look like? Because I just feel like when I got out of the program, I was really on a big learning curve and I was terrified that I was going to make a mistake or not see something. And I probably did miss things. When I got out of school, I just got overwhelmed with business because there wasn't a lot of inspectors in my area. So I'm looking under these RVs and I'm trying to remember what I learned in class, and I don't know what I'm looking at because I'm not a chassis person. So I had to ask questions. I had to ask questions from other people in the business. What does this look like to you? Is this something of concern? And so learning some chassis work outside of the school and maybe getting some more experience with that could be really helpful. So yeah, I would go through more classes at once than I would waiting and taking the classes. Some people took fundamentals and then they'll go back later and take the inspector course. The problem with that is that a lot of what you learn in fundamentals, you really need to keep in your brain. And what I learned was, so I went to the fundamentals and then I did the inspector course all at once and I tested. And I passed all those and it was wonderful. Then a year later, I went back and took some of the tech courses. Well, I couldn't remember all of fundamentals, and for the testing for certification for tech, there's a lot in the fundamentals course that you're going to have to remember and rely on, and it would have been helpful if I could have taken that course again, but I couldn't take the course again unless I repaid for it. There is an online course that you can take that can probably be a refresher, and then you can keep that and keep looking at it. But if I were to do it over again, I would have just taken all of my tech coursework at the same time as my inspector because I want that in my brain for the testing. I still didn't take my test for tech because I didn't take the air conditioner class. And quite frankly, I'm afraid that I wouldn't pass the test because it's been a year since I took the tech stuff. And it's all about remembering these certain things that you know how it is for testing. You have to just remember all these points that they bring up and all the notes that you have, and you have to blurt it down onto paper after you have it in your brain and hold on to it and then just spit it out onto paper. But it's actually doing it and having the experience that really you gain outside of the school. But for testing purposes, it's all about remembering, regurgitating what they taught you for a test. So I would take the whole thing at once and then test and test out and be done with it. Now, do I think that every inspector out there needs to be a tech and take the tech classes? No. You could just be an inspector. And if you're just doing the tech program, you don't need to take the inspector program. I don't advise people that are doing the tech program to take the inspector program. If you're going to do tech, just do the tech program. You don't need the inspector. But as an inspector, I think the tech program is really beneficial. I think it helped me become a better inspector, and I am getting better and better every day. Every day I sit down, I learn, and I go through videos. I look at different RVs. I do a lot of research on them. I watch certain channels, and I will give you some tips. There are some channels that I really watch, and I'm going to recommend them to you. One of them is Darren with My RV Works. I will promote his channel. He is so good. He has been a technician for years, and he has many good videos out there where he shows you how to do things and how to look for things. I love watching that. That's tech stuff, but that helps me as an inspector too. The other one is Arizona Expert. Oh my gosh, he is so great to watch. He can help you as an inspector when you're looking at roofs, and he really understands the material of roofs and the sealant. He has taught me so much about that that I am so thankful for. And I continue to watch all of his videos. So as an inspector, I would say find some people, and those are two people that I recommend. There's other people that I watch, but you want to watch people that actually know what they're talking about, that have experience in the field. The last point that I want to bring up is about the software itself with inspections and what type of device you need. And if I were to do this over again, what I would have done. First of all, I went ahead and used an old Android phone, which was fine. But I tried a little mini tablet because they said, well, you could use a tablet. So I got a tablet. Well, I hated that. I tried a laptop that was a small, cheap laptop. I hated that. What I ended up with was an Android phone for my compatibility device. And then I would ultimately, if I had to do it over again, I would have gotten a nice desktop Windows computer. Now, I am an Apple person. I know there's a lot of people that are Apple people. I'm actually both, because I had 20 years in the office experience as an administrative assistant and some other jobs. I worked on Windows, so I'm very comfortable with Windows. But I went Apple and have the Mac, and I have an iPhone, and I have a tablet. So I didn't expect to go back to Windows. I didn't want to go back to Windows. I just wanted all my Mac stuff. And HomeGauge will say that they have a desktop writer, and they have been working on things for Apple, but I've heard it all 3 years, and I haven't seen anything yet that has allowed me to work on Apple. There's things you can do to create a Windows environment on the Mac, but I did my research, and I just found that it wasn't going to be helpful. Instead, I have a designated computer for all my business stuff when it comes to inspections and HomeGauge. I now have a Dell desktop computer with a nice big screen with an actual keyboard and a mouse that I love. I can organize my files. I have the HomeGauge software, works really well on there, and then I create folders for all of my clients, and I save information in there pertaining to that client. I have all my photos in there. I can take photos from my iPhone. I use my Android device to take all my pictures. But I can also use my iPhone, and then I allowed my Windows to access my iPhone pictures on Google Photos. So if I needed to toggle between iPhone and Android, I could. But when it comes to inspections, I'm using my Android device. So if my recommendation is get a refurbished Android phone if you don't already have one, or get a secondary. If you would use Android, I might have a designated phone that does all the picture taking, and have your main phone and then have that secondary. I don't have to have a plan on it. It's not connected to like a carrier plan. I don't use it as a phone. I use it to take pictures. So I just have an older phone that I take my pictures with and videos. Then that device is strictly for inspections. And then I have my regular phone. Now, there are times that the battery could run out with your phone, so carry an extra charger with you. That is an issue too. So the HomeGauge software is going to seem difficult to you at first, and give it time. My advice is what I would have done coming directly out of school is I would have gotten on the tutorials for HomeGauge, and I would have watched all of those and really tried to learn how to create templates. They're going to give you templates when you come out of the school. And when I went, it was 3 templates: Essential, Essential Plus, and then your Premier. Well, after a while, I got rid of Essential and Essential Plus. I'm like, nope, I'm offering one inspection. It's Premier only. And I got tired of toggling between different templates, so I created an all-in-one template. I also offer a checklist, so I created my own checklist. It's not a template. I'm working on creating a different kind of form for that, but it's more like a checklist. And I did that with my business because I did find there was people that just wanted certain things like roof inspections or main components, life safety. They didn't want the whole kit and caboodle. So I offered that, but I stopped doing the Essential Plus. It just got too confusing to me. I didn't want to have to quote 3 different types of inspections. I just wanted to give them, here's my inspection cost, because I was spending just as much time on there with the Essential as I was the Premier. So the only thing is that I put less photos in their report, but my time was very valuable. And I found that if I'm going to spend just as much time up there and I can't unsee what I would see on the roof, then I need to just do away with these other templates and just go with the Premier. That's how I do it. Give Home Gauge a chance. I know it's frustrating. It's going to be frustrating. Learn how to handle the system and take the training courses and then get comfortable with it. Again, ask lots of questions in class, but then when you go home, practice on it and take the tutorials. There are other things out there that people are playing around with that they'll say, oh, you can use a different software for inspections. I have not grabbed onto any of those only because I'm already comfortable with Home Gauge. I've been using it. I worked through all the bugs and issues, and I find, it invoices people. I have all my contracts set up in there, and contracts is another thing. Make sure your contract covers you. Put a time frame on there of how long they have to come back at you regarding your report or the RV, because you want to have a solid contract. I revised mine multiple times to suit my business. And you can probably consult with other inspectors out there that have been in the business a while. And some people might even share the contract that they have. And, those are things that were really important that I wish I would have taken care of right in the beginning. Instead, I floundered that first year in business. I just kept tweaking things and revising things and changing things. Like I said, the laptop, I would just go forward and get the big nice computer and have something good to work on. Have a nice compatibility device like the Android phone. They're easy to work with. You can carry it and you don't have to finagle with a tablet. I hope that this information was helpful. I am sure I will think of things that I could have presented, other ideas for you, but in order to keep this video at a decent length, I listed out and, I wrote down on some paper and took notes for myself of things that I felt that were important to give people that are thinking about becoming an inspector, or maybe you're enrolled in the inspection program and you don't start for another few months or next year, whatever. It can give you some ideas. If you have any other questions about it and you want to reach out to me, please don't hesitate to send me an email. You can comment on this video. I mean, any of those things work, and I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you on the next one.